Just imagine being framed in a false case and sent to one of the most dangerous prisons in the world. The story begins in the city of Paris in 1931, where a clever man named Papillon lives. He is an expert safecracker who can open any lock with ease. One day after a robbery, he hands over the diamonds to his boss, who suspiciously asks whether Papillon kept some diamonds for himself. Papillon clearly denies it. At that moment, a severely injured man is dragged in front of him, and the boss threatens him, saying that this is what happens to people who lie. Seeing this, Papillon becomes nervous, but after collecting his payment, he leaves. He goes straight to meet his girlfriend Nanette and gives her some diamonds that he secretly hid from his boss. At that same moment, a man secretly notices the necklace in Nanette's hands. Later, the two spend the night together, and Nanette says she wants to leave the world of crime and build a small, peaceful home of their own. However, the next morning, police suddenly arrive at their house and accuse Papillon of murdering the same man who had been beaten by his boss. Papillon tries to explain that he is innocent, but the police do not listen and forcibly arrest him. Papillon realizes that the police will never believe him, so the only way to survive is to escape from prison. After this, Papillon befriends a prisoner named Julot. Julot tells him that escaping from prison requires a lot of money. He then points toward another prisoner named Degas, saying that he can help. In reality, Degas is very wealthy, but was caught printing counterfeit currency. Soon, all prisoners are transported by boat to a prison called the penal colony. That night, Papillon offers Degas protection inside the prison in exchange for money, but Degas refuses the offer. While sleeping, Degas witnesses a horrifying incident where a prisoner sharing his bed is brutally murdered because he had hidden money inside his stomach. Terrified by this, Degas accepts Papillon's offer the next morning. According to the deal, Papillon will protect Degas only until they reach the prison. Degas does not want to escape with Papillon because he believes his wife will get him released soon. Later that night, the same killer returns to attack Degas, but Papillon arrives just in time and saves his life by beating the attacker. However, officers soon find out about the fight and severely punish Papillon. Still, Papillon feels relieved because the man who owes him money is alive. The next morning, they finally reach the penal colony prison. Suddenly, Julot deliberately injures himself so he can be admitted to the prison clinic. His real plan is to escape from there because it has the weakest security. Papillon and the other prisoners are taken to the new prison, where many dangerous criminals are held. The prison warden is extremely cruel and warns all the newcomers that escaping is impossible and attempting it would only worsen their fate. He explains that anyone caught trying to escape will be sentenced to 2 years of solitary confinement. A second attempt will result in 3 years of solitary. A third attempt will send the prisoner to Devil's Island, a place where men lose their sanity forever. Moreover, if anyone commits murder, they will be publicly executed by beheading. Afterward, all prisoners are assigned hard labor, lifting heavy stones. A few days later, Papillon meets a boatman and promises him a large sum of money in exchange for help escaping. The boatman agrees and asks him to meet near the shore the following night. Unfortunately, a dangerous prisoner overhears the plan and attacks Degas to steal his money. Once again, Papillon saves Degas by defeating the attacker. Witnessing this loyalty, Degas realizes he cannot survive without Papillon and finally agrees to escape with him. The next morning, all prisoners are gathered in the yard. It is revealed that Julot killed 2 guards during his escape attempt. As punishment, he is publicly executed by beheading. The horrifying sight terrifies every prisoner. The warden then orders Papillon and Degas to carry Julot's body to the cremation area. On the way, Degas starts vomiting because he has never seen a dead body before. Papillon tries to comfort him, but it does not help. A guard orders Degas to pick up the corpse, but when he refuses, the guard begins whipping him mercilessly. Papillon cannot tolerate this and angrily throws a stone at the guard's head before running away. Degas, however, is too frightened to move. That night, Papillon reaches the riverside to meet the boatman, but when he asks for the boat, the man bursts into laughter. Papillon turns around to see guards surrounding him from all sides. It is revealed that the boatman is actually an informant who reports escape attempts to the warden in exchange for money. Papillon is captured and taken back to prison. The warden informs him that the guard he attacked survived, so Papillon will not be executed. However, for attempting escape, he will be sent to another island for solitary confinement. When Papillon arrives there, the horrifying environment shakes him to the core. In his previous prison, inmates could at least talk to one another, but here he is locked alone in a tiny cell where making any sound is prohibited. Even talking to himself is considered a crime. He receives nothing but a thin bowl of soup as food. One day, he finds a coconut in his meal. Inside is a piece of paper saying he will receive coconuts regularly. Papillon understands this must be Dega helping him. Weeks pass, but eventually the warden discovers the secret and kills the guard responsible for delivering Papillon's meal. The warden demands to know who is helping him, but Papillon remains silent. Enraged, the warden orders him to spend the rest of his punishment in complete darkness. Papillon's condition becomes unbearable. He receives barely any food, cannot speak to anyone, and now lives in total darkness where he cannot even see his surroundings. Loneliness and hunger begin destroying his mind. He grows so weak that he cannot even stand. Eventually, he is transferred to the hospital. Coincidentally, Dega has earned the warden's trust and now works within the prison. When Dega meets Papillon, he learns that Papillon was only pretending to be mentally unstable so he could be moved back to the general prison. They begin planning another escape together.
This time, they decided to take help from 2 more prisoners. Papillon chose a strong and well-built inmate named Cilier, while Dega selected Mature, a quiet prisoner who was constantly bullied by others. Dega handed over all his money to Cilier, who used it to buy a boat. The following night, while a film was being shown to the prisoners, the 4 of them decided it was the perfect opportunity to escape. Dega was extremely nervous, but Papillon convinced him that this was their final chance. According to the plan, Dega went to serve alcohol to the officers who were watching the film. Cleverly, he mixed sleeping pills into the drinks and waited for the right moment to steal the keys to the main gate. Meanwhile, Papillon and the others waited anxiously for Dega to return. Suddenly, heavy rain began pouring. The lights went out, and Cilier insisted that they should escape immediately. However, Papillon refused to leave without his friend Dega. Fortunately, at that very moment, Dega arrived with the keys. Taking advantage of the darkness, the 4 of them unlocked the door and immediately escaped from the prison. But as they kept running, the path suddenly ended, and to reach the riverside, they had no choice but to jump down from a great height. Papillon, Cilier, and Mature jumped safely, but just as Dega was about to leap, the lights suddenly came back on. Startled, he lost his balance and fell hard to the ground. He was so badly injured that he could not even walk. Seeing this, Cilier suggested they should leave Dega behind, but Papillon refused. With Mature's help, he supported the wounded Dega, and together they somehow reached the shore where a boat was waiting for them. Without wasting a second, all 4 climbed aboard and sailed into the dark sea. A few hours later, when the sun rose, Cilier realized they had not traveled very far. After calculating their situation, they understood the boat was too small to carry the weight of 4 men. To make matters worse, a terrifying storm was rapidly approaching them. Time was running out. Acting ruthlessly, Cilier used his strength to push Mature into the sea and then attacked Dega. Papillon immediately stepped in to stop him, and the 2 began fighting fiercely. Cilier was much stronger and was close to killing Papillon when, at the last moment, Dega stabbed him in the back and killed him. Papillon and Dega then threw Cilier's body into the sea and pulled Mature back onto the boat. Moments later, the storm swallowed them. Darkness covered everything, and they lost consciousness. When they woke, they found themselves on an island. Some of the islanders had seen them drifting in the sea and rescued them. Soon, a nun came to Papillon and informed them that they were in Colombia. That evening, Papillon told Dega they needed to leave the island as soon as possible. However, Dega replied that Papillon was free to go alone because their deal had ended. He was exhausted from constantly running and wanted to spend the rest of his life peacefully in one place. Papillon then spoke to Mature, but he too had become fascinated with the island girls and refused to leave. With no other choice, Papillon decided to escape alone. Just then, he suddenly spotted several officers nearby and realized that the cunning nun had informed the authorities about them. Papillon quickly rushed to warn Dega, but before they could flee, the officers surrounded and captured them. Mature tried to resist, but was shot dead on the spot. Papillon and Dega were arrested once again and sent back to prison. 5 years later, Papillon completed his solitary confinement sentence and was transferred to Devil's Island Prison. Upon arrival, he was shocked to see that Dega was already imprisoned there. It turned out that Dega had drugged the officers' alcohol during their earlier escape, which led to his transfer to Devil's Island long before Papillon. Seeing each other again after 5 long years filled them both with joy. One evening, as they sat by the seashore, Papillon came up with an idea. He told Dega that if they built a small raft, the ocean currents would eventually carry them to another shore. Dega, however, refused to risk another escape. He told Papillon he could do whatever he wanted, but should leave him out of it. Over the past 5 years, he had grown used to a quiet life on the island. Moreover, his wife had remarried, so he had little reason to return. Still, despite his reluctance, he helped Papillon build a raft using coconuts. The next morning, the two friends embraced each other and said goodbye. Papillon pushed the raft into the sea and jumped onto it. Fortunately, his plan worked, and the ocean waves slowly began carrying him away towards freedom. Watching him disappear into the distance, tears filled Dega's eyes.